When you're going through some sort of heartbreak, some sort of loss, how does your attachment style fit in then?
Oh, attachment styles affect everything.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome back Dr. Gary Salyer, the author of Safe to Love Again. Gary, thank you so much for joining me.
Always an honor. I'm so happy to be a part of this beautiful message you're putting out week by week.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? I always think of you right around the holidays. Our conversation today, of course, was inspired by, the holiday season, the holiday blues. And that's what I wanted to, once again, have you back and let's really talk about that. Why do the holidays, bring up all this blue stuff? And how do we deal with it, Gary? How do we get through it?
So we talked about a little bit of this last year this time, that the holidays are an emotional amplifier. Mm-hmm. That's how I've come to see them. So whatever you bring in is what gets amplified. So if you're having a really good time and you've got really great family connections and it's all good, then you bring in joy and belonging, and all of a sudden you've got a hallmark moment. Yeah. But, if you've had a breakup or you've got stuff going on in your family, or there's been a huge loss, somebody's died, whatever, then you bring in, when that pain comes in, especially if there's a pain around a breakup or anything like that, then it becomes a hallmark moment. And we got to know that whatever we bring in is going to get amplified. And the real question is, how do we make sure that a set of days does not determine our psychological well-being more than it should?
Yeah. Well, and one of the ways that you address that, of course, is through the whole attachment theory concept. What is your attachment style? How do you deal with relationships? How do you start relationships? Today, it's when you're going through some sort of heartbreak, some sort of loss. How does your attachment style fit in then?
Oh, attachment styles affect everything. Because it's your basic wiring, it's the operating system. And just so we've done other ones on this, but the short, if you're listening for the first time, is attachment is how you've been wired from early experience to love and be loved, what you expect from life to receive and to take, and all those things. But it's just your basic wiring. We're going to talk about three basic attachments. There's the anxious, mm-hmm. and then the avoidance, and the secure. Mm-hmm. Now, as an adult, anxious technically only is the term for childhood attachment, because they're anxious that mom's not going to be there, dad's not going to be there. But that pain builds up over the years. And as adults, there's a term for them, preoccupied. Mm. The anxious are preoccupied, and they're not really centering in the present moment. Their brain always goes back and has exquisite detail on everything that's ever gone wrong, how it's never been there. And the problem with the holidays is, if the preoccupied come in, they're loading this present season up with every past pain. The time they weren't invited, the time they went through a divorce, including all the way back to when they were 2 and they got the green binky rather than the pink binky they wanted. Right? They will load all that up. And if you really want to create a blue Christmas, just keep adding the tickets from last Christmases. And pretty soon the trough gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you can work yourself into real depression. Instead of being able to receive whatever good thing is coming, it's overloaded with all of the bad things from the past. And just as the anxious tend to make the next pay for the X, so it happens with holidays. This holiday is paying for all those quote unquote X holidays. Mm. That's no way to create a joyful or a meaningful or even a sane holiday season. We have to move that in the past. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can honestly say, in high school, my mother told me I wasn't invited for Christmas one time. And one time I was the only one who didn't get anything for a gift. But why would I allow that to be loaded into the present when, I can create a beautiful experience now? That's the past. And it's moving that into the past so that you can celebrate in the moment. You have a right to create your experience. And for the holidays, what about a right to celebrate your experience now, in the moment, seeing what's good, not allowing the past to come on and just load everything down.
So are you saying once you recognize that, and by the way, those are horrible experiences. Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you for being open
Yeah.
about that. But once you realize that is a big part of is a resentment. I mean, that's when you start getting over it, or you understand that you have an anxious attachment style that keeps hurting your present moment, such as a holiday celebration.
Yeah. I mean, does the past keep coming up? If somebody asks you how your day is going, do you tend to run to the past? Well, yeah, it was going, but boy, yesterday it happened this, and it's just the same way as happened then. Think about it when you get in the shower. Do you tend to say, what's going on in the present? Do you have a positive view of or do your thoughts go back to the past and all the negative things? Or the other thing is you think about them and you just project them into the future. The holidays are kind of a setup for some disappointment because they expect so much. It's kind of like online dating, to be honest with you. Except, the long list of what we want and what it should be. And real life is going to throw you some less than wonderful, less than Hallmark moments. It will throw you some blues, but we don't have to take all those blues from the past. It's okay to be able to create and celebrate and be a choice about how you're going to create this. So you're not bringing all the past in. That's a bummer. Yeah. And I think at the Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, all this whole holiday thing, people are reminded of what they don't have. And maybe there's two things I would suggest. Start filtering for what you do have. There was a period of time when, after my first divorce, I just felt like every holiday season I got the rook, because now I only got half a Christmas to celebrate. And I was feeling painful, and all that. And yes, it was disappointing. And that, but then one day the universe says to me, and I'm saying, I don't feel respected as a single father, and says, well, what are you doing to respect others? What about contacting 2 or 3 single fathers or mothers and saying what a good job they did? And at first I thought the universe was being a jerk. But the moment I got outside of myself, what was missing for me, and I thought of a couple of single parents that needed to be told, you're doing such a great job, to celebrate them at this time of celebration. It's a tried and true thing. If you want to get out of depression, get out of yourself, because depression and the blues pull you inward. Getting out of yourself and being of service in whatever way is a wonderful way of not being so preoccupied with your past that it influences everything.
Yeah, no, I like that. And then, of course, there's the exact opposite, the avoidant, which is also very interesting. Everything you just said, you just kind of avoid, so you never feel anything. Am I simplifying that too much?
No, because the avoidance, that's the term for babies, because they don't avoid contact with their mom and dads. They're called dismissive. They dismiss emotions. They dismiss, and what they do is the opposite. They can't let joy in. Not real joy. What they do is they tone everything down, and they have that little, laid back, I've got to put some distance, and they can never feel it. When there's truly a great season at hand, they turn a beautiful smorgasbord at Chez Panisse, right, down to a fast food thing. I was about ready to,
You were about to say McDonald's.
I was about ready to say McDonald's, and then I thought, can I say that here?
That's funny.
I mean, I did have some fries at McDonald's about a week
Oh,
ago,
I love the
but
McDonald's fries. Yeah.
but they can never let it be the filet mignon, and it's okay to let in the good things too. I mean, there are some holidays that we want to take in because it's part of life, and they can't truly bring it in. They're so used to toning down emotional connection that when the smorgasbord is given to them, they say, "Can I have there's just a little bit of rice and broccoli? Forget the filet mignon." They do the exact opposite. Now, they're bootlegging past pain in too, but more subtle. Their way of dealing with past pain is to put the walls up and and live on that island and tone things down. And just because some part of you didn't get a full right to connect doesn't mean you have to tone everything down so you never get hurt again. I'll never feel those feelings.
You know what I like, what we just said, what hit me, people that can't feel or that don't have, that suppress their emotions, they're not going to share them, they're not going to talk about it. But if they hear this conversation, hear your advice, they can actually work on that without telling anybody or admitting to anybody that they're working on themselves. Does that make any sense?
Oh no, it does. When people have depression, and the blues, holiday blues, are a form of that.
Mm-hmm.
Rollo May, and I said it in my book, Rollo May said that depression is an inability to create your future or your present.
Mm.
We give way too much power away when we let the past come in, either anxiously or avoidantly. The secure response is to be present in the moment and to say, what's the best deal we can make out of this one? Mm-hmm. Right? And you could have a holiday that looks like Hallmark coming up, but if you're also one of those people where your grandmother or your mother or your father is in a convalescent home and doesn't have that long to live, we're not asking you to jump up and down and spit wooden nickels. That would be inappropriate. But the secure balance what their heart needs and those around them. You might find a way to celebrate your kids if they're 4 and 5, because you don't want them bringing that in there, but you will acknowledge their feelings. And it's all about acknowledging what feelings need to be celebrated, and which ones may need to be honored by maybe in other ways, whatever is attuned and appropriate. What I'm advocating is for a more empowered view of going through with less baggage from the past and just really centering in the moment.
Yeah, especially if you've been dealing with this for a bit, be it a few months, maybe a few years, if this continues. I'm wondering what your advice would be in an acute situation where something has just happened and you're just like beside yourself.
Let's look at what something acute happens. Once I thought this was way back in the 90s, I thought I was going to ask a woman to marry me. And then things got a little weird in late November and December, and we were going to get together for Christmas Eve. And she breaks up with me at 6:00, and I hear the guy in the room behind her. Oh my God. I think that was the worst bummer I ever got on. Now, I also had a son. And I got out of it, and I made sure that I didn't bring that in for him. I made sure he had a really good Christmas. It was a bummer. It really was. If you want to talk about acute, but the secure take no BS and give no BS. So I made sure I didn't bring in that to my friends because I wanted them to celebrate. I wanted them to have a good one. And then afterwards, a few days later, I got the support I needed. That's what the secure do. They attune to themselves and others. The preoccupied, just themselves. The anxious, they can't attune to anybody really very well. But the secure know how to roll with what the tides that come during the holidays. And, if there's anything that the holidays can teach us, I mean, you think about the movie Scrooge. I mean, not Scrooge, but Christmas Carol. Okay. It's all about, Scrooge is really a symbol for how we can change our experience. And I think if we remember that the best celebration is celebrating what's the experience I want to create and celebrate. How do I celebrate life, others, myself? And you can honor all the traditions that are personal, familiar, and religious, but you have a right to do it in a way that you come out on the other side of the holidays feeling stronger about your place in life. You have a right to do that.
That's beautifully said, Gary. Thank you. And again, thank you for being so, so open about sharing that. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with you, maybe not with that specific experience, but with the oh my goodness, the sharp knife that hits you in the stomach. And by the way, that's another thing I wanted to say, that kind of pain is real. It is not, yeah. And I think everybody needs to understand that, whether you're going through it or you're dealing with somebody going through it, this is a physical pain that you experience. And once we know all this, once we understand how our attachment works, not, I mean, obviously, I guess you would agree, we would want to aspire to being secure. But fact of the matter is, not all of us are. We are somewhere over here, somewhere over there. But that doesn't mean you need to stay stuck there. Just understand what's happening, and I'll let you close.
Well, secure is a continuum, and we can all have, you can be secure with pockets of anxious and pockets of avoiding. We all have that, right? Mm-hmm. But to your point before, emotional and physical pain all register in the same place in the brain. Okay, it's back here. Now, that means that whole thing of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. No better lie has ever been spoken. But the point being, and it's, if there's anything at the heart and soul of my book, is that we have a right to create our own experience. Mm-hmm. It's called neuroplasticity. We can work with that pain. So, and if we are experience any of those holiday blues, there are ways we can adjust it. Now, does it mean we just take a little racy? No, but we can make it so that we can find meaning in it. We can find a way to put our attention otherwise, and to make sure we're balancing our own heart needs with those around us. And we can even adjust whether we want to go really high and have a great celebration, or maybe we do need to tone it down a little bit because so much else is going on. There's a huge loss, somebody's sick. This isn't so much about the blues. It's about belonging and finding a way to turn these holidays into something that allows us on the other side to have a bigger stake in life.
Yeah, great advice, Gary. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to link to all of your information if people want to get a hold of you directly. And of course, your book, full of great advice. I love reading it. I know our viewers will. And I look forward to having you back again soon on Second Act TV. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.